Hey everyone, and welcome to today's Explainer. Today, we're diving into a topic that literally affects every single one of us who works for a living, our pay. It's something we all obviously care deeply about, but honestly, very few of us truly understand the complex gears turning behind the scenes. As you'll see today, compensation is basically a massive, intricate iceberg. That final number on your monthly paycheck, it's just the tip of something much, much larger.
Okay, let's dive into this. Have you ever just stared at your salary and wondered, is this just some totally random number they pulled out of thin air? Seriously, think about your last paycheck for a second. What are the hidden mechanics, the unseen HR calculations, and the market forces that went into deciding that exact monetary amount? Well, spoiler alert, it is far from random. To uncover those mechanics, here is our roadmap for today's Explainer. First, we'll look at the true meaning of pay, and then the psychology of earning. Next, we'll uncover how HR decides your pay, followed by navigating special groups and trends. And finally, we'll wrap things up with the fairness factor.
Let's get right into it with Section 1, the true meaning of pay, decoding the total return for your work.
Right off the bat, we actually need to challenge a pretty basic assumption. Most of us think of compensation as just a monthly wage, right? But it's actually the total return an employee receives from an organization for the work performed. Crucially, this includes both monetary and non-monetary rewards. What's really happening here is that a company is assigning a highly calculated value to your specific knowledge, your skills, and your experience. It's a comprehensive package, not just a simple cash transaction.
And this brilliantly illustrates that exact divide. On one hand, we have direct compensation. This includes your basic salary, your bonuses, incentives, and commissions. It's the financial payment you see directly hitting your bank account. But balancing that out, we have indirect compensation. These are your employee benefits, things like health insurance, paid leave, provident funds, and wellness programs. Here's a crazy fact. These indirect benefits often make up 30% or more of an employee's total compensation. They improve your overall well-being, provide immense financial security, and they are a massive part of what you're actually earning for your time.
Organizations strategically blend these different elements together to create a total rewards package. It's kind of like a puzzle. They take fixed compensation, like your regular, predictable salary, and they add in variable compensation, which is linked directly to your performance, like a bonus. Finally, they round the whole thing out with those indirect employee benefits. This three-part blend definitely isn't an accident. It's a highly targeted package designed specifically to attract top talent, keep them motivated, and ensure they stay with the company for the long haul.
Section 2, the psychology of earning. Why fairness drives performance.
So now that we understand the what of your paycheck, let's shift our focus to the why. Human resources departments aren't just sitting in a back room crunching numbers in a vacuum. They're actually applying some pretty sophisticated psychological principles. Take expectancy theory, for instance. It's the idea that if you genuinely believe hitting a specific performance target will lead directly to a specific bonus, your motivation absolutely skyrockets. HR leverages these established psychological models because they know that the right rewards do so much more than just pay your bills. When deployed correctly, these packages motivate you to level up your performance, boost your job satisfaction, and secure your loyalty to the company's broader goals.
But here's the catch. We're social creatures. Employees are constantly comparing their pay with everyone else's. Because of this, HR managers are forced to balance two critical and often competing concepts. First up is internal equity. This is all about fairness within the organization. Basically, making sure you feel like you're being paid fairly compared to the coworkers sitting right next to you doing the exact same job. Second is external equity, which is competitiveness in the wider labor market. This is about making sure your pay aligns with industry standards so you aren't tempted to jump ship for a lucrative offer from the rival company across town. Balancing this internal fairness with external competitiveness is absolutely crucial to prevent massive employee turnover.
Moving on to Section 3, how HR decides your pay, pulling back the curtain on the process. So how do they actually pull off that balance? Let's move to the mechanics and see how this builds almost like a 6-step detective story. Step 1 is a job analysis, where HR identifies exactly what the duties and responsibilities of a role actually are. That leads directly into Step 2, job evaluation, which determines the role's relative worth to establish that crucial internal equity we just talked about. With that set, HR maps out the salary structure design in Step 3, setting the actual pay ranges. Step 4 is a market survey to check the competition and ensure external competitiveness. Once that's ready, we hit Step 5, implementation, where the policy goes live. And finally, Step 6, the periodic review, because pay is never a set-it-and-forget-it deal. It's systematically constructed and constantly reviewed against changing conditions.
Now, that periodic review is influenced by a complex push and pull of ongoing factors. On one side, you've got internal factors, the organization's actual financial ability to pay, the inherent value of the job itself, and your personal performance metrics. But these internal realities actively clash with external factors: shifting labor market conditions, the broader economic environment, strict government regulations around things like minimum wage, and, of course, the ever-rising cost of living. This continuous tug of war is exactly why a compensation package is never static. It literally has to adapt.
Section 4. Navigating special groups and trends. One size does not fit all.
Now, what's really interesting to see here is how today's workforce requires compensation to be incredibly flexible. HR essentially has to create highly customized policies to fit the unique nature of different roles. For example, a senior executive might rely heavily on performance bonuses and long-term incentives like stock options. But a sales rep? They thrive on a structure heavily driven by sales commissions. Meanwhile, gig employees operate completely differently, getting project-based or contract payments rather than a predictable monthly salary. And our remote employees? They might get tailored perks like technology allowances or highly flexible benefit packages. The structure of the pay is totally customized to drive the specific outcomes required for that exact role.
To manage all this crazy complexity, organizations are leaning heavily into some modern compensation trends. We're seeing a massive shift toward performance-based pay and skill or competency-based compensation. That means employees are increasingly being rewarded for exactly what they can do and the tangible value they bring to the table. And to pull this off effectively against challenges like rising labor costs and changing employee expectations, companies are utilizing AI-supported analytics and advanced digital payroll systems. These aren't just fancy tools anymore. They are cutting-edge necessities required to handle those incredibly complex, customized pay structures we just talked about, keeping the whole process objective, fair, and transparent.
Which brings us to Section 5, the fairness factor, the ultimate takeaway. So the crucial point of this whole explainer is beautifully captured in this insight from the source material. Employees evaluate compensation not only by how much they receive, but also by whether they perceive it as fair. I mean, take a second to really absorb that. It's not just about the raw amount of money, it's deeply tied to the human perception of equity. Transparent compensation policies, delivering equal pay for equal work, and offering clear, objective, performance-linked rewards, these are the things that actually build trust. And without that fundamental trust between employees and management, long-term organizational success is basically impossible.
Which leaves us with one final, pretty provocative thought to consider as we wrap up today's explainer. Does your compensation package make you feel truly valued? Seriously, take a hard look at the total rewards you receive from your organization, both the direct financial payouts and those indirect benefits hiding beneath the surface. Understanding the mechanics, the psychology, and the structured processes behind that compensation is your very first step to recognizing your true worth in the workplace. Keep learning, keep asking the hard questions, and thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. See you next time.